Well, we're live. I was just checking.
Tonight, you never know.
Oh, guys, it has been a real interesting struggle. For some reason, the software that we use was being really weird tonight on my computer. So I'm having to use my iPad, and I've never used my iPad for this. So I don't know. I know when I look here, that's where I'm supposed to look. But I want to look over here and see Shari when she talks. But then I look bizarre. So hi everyone. Hit like. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're from. This is our first Q&A of 2018. I almost said 2017.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know anymore.
I think I'm still writing 2017. It takes me a few months.
Did you see I wrote 2028 on the initial announcement and I had to edit it? Someone called me out. I was like, I don't know anymore.
That's really...
So here we are, living life on the Be Live. I'm Jamie. We got Shari Criso here. We have a cop going by my apartment, apparently. And we have the Grammys. So, whatever. This is, we're starting a brand new year of our partnership here with Evenflo. We are very, very, very excited to do it again this year so that we're able to do these Q&As and get information to you guys. I take this partnership specifically very seriously, and I cherish it because I get to work with some of my favorite people on the planet. And one of those is Shari Criso. So Shari, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell the people who you are if they don't know.
Yay. Hi, everyone. I feel the same exact way, Jamie. This is one of my favorite things to do because I get to spend time with you. How happy and lucky am I? I'm sure everybody agrees with that. I'm Shari Criso, and I've been doing these Q&As with Jamie since, a couple decades now. A long time. We're going on I don't know. Well, we're going on it's been over 3 years of doing these Q&As with Evenflo.
Yeah.
But we've been working together. Jamie and I have been working together for
about a decade.
Yeah, about a decade. So yeah. It's crazy, and things have evolved. But the one thing that stayed the same is just the wonderful synergy that I think that him and I have to be able to do these live streams with all of you guys. And I know you're all really getting a lot out of them because we get messages from you. And so it's awesome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a registered nurse. I'm a certified nurse midwife. I delivered babies for a long time in my private practice here in New Jersey. And I'm also an international board certified lactation consultant. I work very closely with Evenflo Feeding to help them provide education along with their amazing products. And I also help to design their advanced double electric breast pump that I just happen to have right here. And this is our prize tonight too. So yeah, there you go. And I'm on the box.
One in a box.
I'm on the pic. There, my picture's on the box there. There you go.
Yep.
Because my classes come with the pump. So when you get any of the Evenflo pumps, you get full education from me too.
Yeah, I have a habit of when I go into Target, I always do laps of the baby department to kind of see what's up there and how they're merchandising stuff. And one of the things I always look for is this in your face.
So does my mother, Jamie. She'll snap pictures when she's in a Walmart.
Okay, so this is a little tricky tonight because on my app, I cannot see your questions, but I have my computer over here. So if I'm doing this a whole lot, just ignore me. Just don't mind the man behind the curtain. So we have quite a few questions, and how we wanted to structure some of the Q&As this year was kind of give them a theme. So we figured this is the beginning of 2018. So we were going to kind of do this one as how to set yourself up for breastfeeding success, how to get off to a really good start, knowing pumping techniques and amount, etc. And especially for those of you who will have to go back to work. We have quite a few questions with that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get some questions in. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Annika or Anika says, I am breastfeeding my first child who is now 6 weeks old. It is going great, but I am wondering how and when to start pumping. Any tips for that would be appreciated.
That's a great question. It's a great question because especially here in the US where we have to go back to work, so many of us, so many moms are working and breastfeeding and want to continue with pumping. And, it's something that you're going to have to start to think about fairly early because for two reasons. One is you want to make sure that you're storing up some milk for that first day back and a little bit of freezer stash if possible. Some moms can do that, some can't. But also you want to start getting your baby used to a bottle as well. And there's different schools of thought on how soon to start pumping, how soon to start introducing the baby to a bottle. She's asking specifically about when to start pumping, right? For baby 6 weeks old. Even if she's not going back to work, lots of moms want to be able to use their pump so they can leave their baby once in a while, or they can give a bottle, or someone else can feed the baby. But the sooner that you start practicing with it, the better off you're going to be. I find that it actually gets harder to use a breast pump the longer you wait. And even if you've been pumping a lot in the beginning, as the months go on in the year, as the baby gets older, sometimes it's hard to use a breast pump towards the end of that first year. So I would start right away. I usually have moms introduce the bottle fairly early. I usually have moms start pumping pretty soon, maybe a week or 2 weeks after delivery. As soon as your milk supply is well established, as soon as the baby's nursing and latching well and everything's going fine, I usually have moms start by pumping just like a half an ounce out once a day, just to get used to the breast pump and to start introducing the baby to that different type of nipple before the baby develops what we call like a nipple preference. And that can happen as early as 3 weeks. So in either direction. So it can be a nipple preference where, you introduce the baby to bottles too often, too frequently, and then the baby doesn't want to breastfeed. Or you can be breastfeeding and not introduce the baby to a bottle and the baby won't take a bottle. And how many of you guys, this is a common thing. How many of you have experienced that where you've tried to give your baby a bottle, but you waited too long and now the baby rejects the bottle altogether? I know that happened to me, and I waited only 3 weeks with my second and she never took a bottle. It was easier because I was able to take my baby to work with me, but not everybody has that, ability, or not everybody's able to do that. So if you're not, you want to introduce a little sooner.
Yeah, and this comes up every time we do a Q&A, when to introduce a bottle, etc. And I know I get messages throughout various threads and everything on my wall about like, what bottles do you recommend and how do I get my baby to take a bottle? They're not taking a bottle. It's 5, 6 months in, 7 months in. And that you have to feed your kid somehow. So this is a big deal if your baby won't take a bottle, and you can always try a cup, but it's like, bottles are a lot easier.
They are. And, this idea that, breastfed babies can do both. Mm-hmm. Breastfed babies can breastfeed and bottle feed, and they can also take pacifiers, and they can do all of it. So it's just a matter of doing it with the right timing. Not introducing too much too soon, making sure that you've established breastfeeding. Remember, the baby has to suck differently on a bottle nipple or a pacifier than they do at the breast. And they can interchange that, but they need to have enough time to establish that good latch to the breast first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have these next two questions could kind of be linked together, based on what you think. So, Janaea has a question. Could you go over signs of the different lip and tongue ties? Mm-hmm. But Brittany has a question. I just had baby number 5, and she's my first difficult breastfeeding babe. The LC said she has a high palate, and that's part of our issue with latching. She roots for a long time before figuring out how to latch again. It seems like her lower lip and tongue have a hard time coming outward. Any suggestions on how to create a better latch and a less frustrated baby? I try not to try too long, and we've had to introduce a bottle because sometimes latching just won't happen.
They do go, those two questions really do go hand in hand. And even those high palates, a big reason why a baby would even have a high palate is from a tongue tie. It's not the only reason, but it's a common reason for a high palate. Remember that the tongue is what is shaping the palate on the baby. So when the tongue is able to rest, when you have your mouth closed and your tongue is resting on the top, on the roof of your mouth, that's what's forming the palate of the baby. When the baby's tongue is tethered, or stuck with a tongue tie to the floor of the mouth and they can't raise the tongue up, it cannot form that nice wide arch. And so the arch becomes more V-shaped and becomes higher and everything gets malformed. And so those things do go together. It's some of the symptoms. Let's go to the first question. What are some of the signs and symptoms of a tongue tie? Things that you, obviously obvious things like baby painful latch, okay, is definitely a sign. Not the only thing that causes a painful latch, but these are signs of tongue tie. Tongue tie would cause painful latch in many cases. Sometimes it doesn't, and you can still have one, but that's one thing. So mom has very sore nipples, or the baby is having a difficult time staying latched on. The seal keeps breaking. The baby latches on but can't hold that seal. They can't actually use their full mouth to suck. And so the seal will keep breaking and you'll hear the baby coming off with a pop. Or you'll hear clicking when the baby's nursing. That sometimes is a sign that there's a tongue tie. And then there's other things like the fact that the baby may not be gaining weight adequately. The baby's not able to transfer the milk the way that we expect them to or we want them to. And even though the baby may be drinking milk, they're still not draining the breast the way we want them to maintain that milk supply. So over time, you may have a low milk supply or a decreased milk supply, which is a sign of tongue tie or lip tie. And then things that you might not even notice or like think of as tongue tie, but a baby that has what we would diagnose as reflux. And this is a big one because so many babies are diagnosed as that and then they're put on medications when really the underlying cause is that tongue tie that's causing the baby to swallow lots of air. And so those babies will result in, lots of gas, like lots of crying, discomfort, or spitting up. And those are all signs of tongue tie as well.
Very good.
We're going to be doing actually we did a beautiful panel back in October with some really amazing experts over on my page about tongue tie. And we're actually have another one scheduled with the panel next month in February. So everybody can watch out for the announcements on that. I believe we're doing it on February 11th. It's going to be a 3-hour long panel. We're going to go even more in depth with the group. What, Joe? Joe will drop the link because I'm about to announce it. This is the first time I'm actually announcing the event, but we're going to be doing it's Sunday, February 11th, I believe 11 a.m. on my Facebook page. You're going to have to sign up for it. It's not going to be like just on my page. You have to actually go and register for it, but you'll be able to watch it. And it's going to be 2 hours of lots and lots of information and then 1 hour of Q&A so that you can actually ask your questions.
Wow. Hope your batteries are charged.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. We actually have quite a few questions, and I see like a lot of questions are being left on Facebook. So I will get to those as many of them as I can. All right.
We're not frozen, are we? Looks frozen on my phone.
No, you're not. You're not frozen on my computer.
Sometimes it's just my phone, so that's fine.
Yeah, you're not frozen.
Okay.
So, Caitlin has a question. I just had a general question about my 6-week-old son. He hasn't had a bowel movement in 3 days. He's been farting, and it's stinky. He is breastfed majority of the time, but he has 1 bottle of formula once a day, about 2 to 3 ounces. Do you have any tips on how to help him have bowel movement? Because since he hasn't pooped, he's been sleeping a lot and had a lot of gas.
Okay. Well, how old is the baby again, Jamie?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay. So let's put it this way. Breastfed babies do not need to poop every single day.
I was shocked about that because I didn't realize that until it wasn't the twins. I want to say it was Grayson wasn't pooping a whole lot.
Yeah.
And like you actually are the one that told us. It was like, they don't poop
They don't
all
really
the time.
And some do. And, you know, if you've had a baby that, you know, if your first baby pooped all the time, then yeah, of course, it's going to seem like there's something wrong. And also when they're first born, now newborns should be pooping every single day. But as they start to get older, and by 6 weeks, that's pretty common that a 6-week-old may go days without pooping. They can actually go up to a week without pooping, and it can still be normal. And as long as, you know, when they actually do poop, watch out, because it's usually an explosion. And I think that's what she's saying, right?
Well, she doesn't really talk about explosion, but I can also speak to that because it's not like Grayson would get like fully constipated, but because he wouldn't poop a whole lot, when it happened, it would happen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We would use the Windy to help with it from Frida Baby.
Yeah.
We would like stick it up in there just to kind of release the sphincter. And then it was like, I remember one time it was like that, you know, that the firework you light that turns into the snake that looks like ash and it just goes, blah. It was horrible.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, it does. It explodes. When it does come, it's a massive explosion. But, you know, I always tell parents, you know, they can go up to a week. Breastfed babies, sometimes they're utilizing everything you're giving them. As long as they're peeing, then you know that they're hydrated, at least 6 to 8 wet diapers in 24 hours. And usually parents will tell me that's fine. It's just the poop. Using things like the Windy or helping them, just moving their legs, helping them to go, they'll eventually go. The thing that I always say is that, you know, constipation is not really the frequency of the bowel movement, but it's the consistency of it. So as long as when it does come, it's that, you know, explosive, watery, yellow, seedy poop that you would expect from a breastfed baby, then that's not constipation. And there's really nothing to do about it. Just keep feeding.
Alyssa says, I've been pumping minimum 15 minutes after each feeding with no luck increasing supply, and I've tried meds, fenugreek, etc. Baby wasn't gaining weight. Is power pumping effective? And if so, how often per day? And if I continue to see no results in supply, should I continue pumping as often as I am? Babe is 3 months, been doing this for 2.
Yeah, I would say that if she's been trying this for 2 months already and she's not seeing a result, then I have a bunch of questions. You know, one is, you know, just because the baby's not, when she says not gaining weight, does that mean not gaining weight fast enough? Okay, because sometimes babies gaining weight, but just a little bit slower than what maybe the pediatrician wants them to gain. If they're not gaining any weight and staying exactly the same, sometimes that could be a low milk supply, but it could also mean other things. It could also mean that for whatever reason, the fat in her milk, the fat content of her milk may not be sufficient to gain and have enough calories. Sometimes those babies, no matter how much supply you have, may need to be supplemented with very small amounts just to increase calorie content until the milk changes, which it does over time. And then the baby has no problem. So it's a really hard question to answer just like this because there's so many factors that could be going into what she's talking about. I'm just going to address like some of the things she's mentioning that other parents may be thinking, other moms may be thinking, like power pumping and all these supplements and other things. The number one thing that's going to help you to increase supply, if that really is the problem, is to breastfeed more. And that's what power pumping actually is you're trying to simulate what you would do if you're just going to keep breastfeeding more. That means putting the pump on frequently, draining every little last drop, doing it in small little intervals, like 10 minutes at a time. Take 10 minutes of pumping, 10 minutes of break, 10 minutes of pumping again, and kind of simulating what a baby does when they're going through a growth spurt. Because anytime you drain the breast a lot, where you don't allow, you just keep getting those last little drops out, the body tells itself, make more, make lots more. And so that can be a good stimulant to making more milk. But so frequently, and we've talked about this so many times, Jamie, the low milk supply issues, the most common reason for low milk supply is a perceived low milk supply.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say that with so much respect and understanding for the moms who really feel like they have low milk supply. Some do. Some have a medical condition that will cause low milk supply. Some have done, have done things like, supplemented too early, or not started off on the best foot, not had the best latch with their baby, or the baby had a tongue tie, or other causes that can cause you to have low milk supply. But the number one cause of low milk supply is just a misperception of how much you should be actually producing. In this particular case, she's talking about not gaining weight. But again, I really question whether it's just not gaining fast enough. A baby who's truly losing weight or not gaining at all, I can't imagine that she would just be power pumping for 2 months, that there would be other things, that she would be adding other things. We don't just, allow baby to lose weight and not supplement if there really was a problem, whether that's with donor milk or formula.
Yeah. There are some good questions coming through on Facebook, so I got to make sure to get to some of them. Lanny or Lanny or Lonnie wants to know, is it normal for my 1-month-old to be only waking up to nurse once or twice a night? He just started doing this for about 4 days now. It's killing me. I wake up so engorged. He's only pooping 2 or 3 times a day now, but when he does, they are big ones. Is that normal? We discussed that.
Yep.
But in terms of the baby only waking up 1 time a night to nurse, let's discuss that, and let's discuss if a baby should sleep through the night or not.
Yeah.
Because there's some information out there.
Oh boy. This is where we have to say, yes, it's normal, and no, it's not normal. So it's normal depending on your baby and everything else that's going on around it. So can a 1-month-old sleep through the night? Yes, it's definitely possible. This has more to do with your milk capacity, or how much milk your body can produce at one time, and how much your baby is actually eating, maybe during the day, to get through the night. But if your baby wakes up during the night, that's really normal. Your baby most likely is waking once or multiple times during the night. Lots of babies, that's when they get the majority of their food. And so to ask a baby to sleep through the night is just not normal. It's not a normal thing. Except in this case, when she's saying my baby only wakes 1 or 2 times, is that normal? If your baby's doing that, then yes. So again, all babies are different. They're just, some babies will sleep, some babies will be awake, and that's all normal for breastfeeding. How long you go between stretches of nursing, and this is where I think we may need some explanation, is that milk capacity. When I say milk capacity, most moms who produce enough milk to feed their baby can make enough in the 24 hours. Depends on, but how many times you need to feed to get to that amount is different from one person to the next. So some people might be feeding every 4 hours, while the next person is feeding every hour and a half or 2. Both those moms can make enough to feed their babies, but they need to do it at different intervals. Does that make sense?
Does to me. I'm just looking at some comments here when we were talking about the weight gain, and a lot of people are saying, make sure your doctor knows like weight gain charts for breastfed babies versus everything, like WHO versus CDC.
Yeah, and you know what? That used to be a really big deal many like years ago. Like when we first started doing this, and maybe up till about a couple years ago, I find that most doctors are using the World Health Organization charts, and most are using them at this point. But if you're I'm sure there are offices out there still using those old CDC growth charts, and what they're referring to is growth charts that were based on formula-fed infants instead of exclusively breastfed babies. And the World Health Organization charts will look at exclusively breastfed babies around the world and put your baby on that chart to determine, is the weight gain within normal? Is it, within the normal range? Typically in the past, we were asking breastfed babies to gain much more than what they should be. And so it's the opposite. Formula-fed babies should be put onto the World Health Organization charts so that we're not gaining too quickly, which then sets up a child for obesity later in life.
Yeah. So this is a multi-part question. And then I kind of want to go into some Facebook because there's a lot.
Somebody also asked, what's the link for to register for the prize tonight too? There's the link for
the pump.
Yeah, the link for the pump. If Joe could just drop that into the chat here, and then they'll know where to get the link.
Yeah. Did you put it in the caption?
I think I did.
Nope.
Did I? You know what?
No.
I didn't. Okay. I can actually, you want to see? I can do this. Hold on. Let me see if I can.
He put it in the thing. I'm going to pin the comment there. I pinned the entry link to the top of the comment thread.
Okay.
So you're good there. Just make sure you go enter. It's just bit.ly/Evenflo baby guy.
Here, look.
It's all pinned.
I got it up on the screen.
Oh, you put it up in the broadcast?
There you go.
Okay.
That's where you register to be able to win the pump.
Yeah. Also, and I know you don't love this question, but
I know which one you're going to ask.
One of my most engaged people here, Carly, she really just wants to know, and I already told her what the normal answer is, but she has a two-parter, and someone in the Facebook Live chat also wanted to talk about this. So, Carly, question 1. Ophelia's 2 bottom teeth have cut, and she gets a little bitey at times. Suggestions on how to curb this behavior. She's 5.5 months. I'm scared of the teeth to come. So what I told Carly was that there is no real answer except for what you always say is to hold the baby closer, to make sure they're latched on so that they can't pull away and slide down the nip and bite it. And she's like, great, but it's when she falls asleep at the nipple and you get that nip lash thing going on. Mm-hmm. So do you have any advice for that? And then we'll go into her other part, which a couple other people had questions about.
Her answer is perfect, because that whole idea of falling asleep and that's when it's happening, you need to watch your baby closely. If you're at that time where the baby's got teeth and they're actually, most babies will get teeth and then they won't bite, or they'll bite for a very short period of time and then they'll stop, and then you can go on for years nursing with teeth and no biting, and that's perfectly normal and typical. But if you allow the baby to fall asleep on the nipple, then they're doing that sliding motion where the nipple is, remember, to breastfeed, they have to really, it's an active thing. It's not just like a bottle where you're sticking it in their mouth. They actually have to suck the nipple in far back into their mouth. And so when they're falling asleep, they're losing the latch, and the nipple is going towards the front of the mouth where they can now bite down. The baby's probably not even doing it on purpose. The baby's just sleeping. And so as soon as the baby starts to doze off, fall asleep, I would insert a finger into the baby's mouth, pull those gums apart, and remove your nipple. Okay, so be ready, stay alert, and don't just allow the child to just clamp down. If you allow the baby to fall asleep, you're going to have that biting. She's probably doing it in her sleep. And it's the same answer as what you just said, which is holding the baby closer while they're awake.
Yeah. Hope that helps.
Yeah, it's hard. There's not that good of an answer for biting. Luckily, the biggest answer I can say is that it doesn't usually last, and then they don't do it forever.
Yeah. So Carly's second half, and then there were a couple people popping up because of the age of her daughters, 5.5 months old, 6 months. You're gonna try to start introducing solids and whatnot. So she was just curious about introduction of solids at that point and like baby-led weaning and all of that, and how do you know you're ready for that
at 5 months?
Well, she's at 5.5 months now, so
gotcha.
In 6 months, okay. And I'm actually going to be doing a video on baby-led weaning with Dawn as well. Yeah. But if you have any thoughts and everything, like go for it.
Main things is to make sure you wait for the baby to be ready, and so that means like just chronologically, you want to wait till after 6 months of age, so at least 6 months old. Wait for then to start introducing solids. Child needs to be able to sit up. They need to, the tongue thrust needs to be starting to go away. You know what I mean by tongue thrust is where they're eating and they're sticking their tongue out. That's how the baby sucks at the breast. And so when that tongue thrust is there, and you trying to put food in and the food's just like popping back out, they're not really ready for solids at that point. And so, there's all kinds of signs of readiness like that to make sure that your baby's ready for solids. And with baby-led weaning, what you're doing is you're starting them with table food instead of purees. You can use puree. Dawn and I actually did a whole show on introducing solids, and it was fantastic. And I'm sure she'll go over all of these things of what you can talk about, of what you can look for, or what you can introduce with, whether it's solids or purees to begin with. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. It's really preference. Parents who do baby-led weaning swear by baby-led weaning. Parents who do purees swear by purees. And the answer is that it's really just a preference thing.
A mix of both.
Or a mix of both, exactly. Main thing is to wait till your baby's at least 6 months old.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the other kind of part of Carly's question was when they're doing solids, in terms of almost like a ratio of solids to breast milk, what should that work out as, like in terms of nutrient content? Where should they be deriving? Should they be doing more breastfeeding with a little bit of solids, or? Yeah,
I would say that when you're first starting to introduce solids to your baby, you should be looking to do more breast milk than solids. That ratio will change as you get closer to a year old, but for the first year, you really want to get as much breast milk into them as possible. Dawn and I agreed on this as far as, it's not this whole notion of like food before one is just for fun. It's a great saying, but it's not just for fun. Babies really do need to eat within the first year. You need to start introducing them. It's not just the nutrition. Yes, they're getting their nutrition from the breast milk, but they're starting to develop, their taste buds. They're developing the functionality of being able to chew, being able to move their mouths, of being able to swallow boluses of food instead of just milk. These are all important milestones that your baby needs to start taking earlier than a year. And so a lot of it is play. And again, they are going to get their nutrition from the milk. So always make sure that you're breastfeeding first. Make sure that they're getting their full feeding. You don't want to interfere with your supply. If we're overfeeding them with solids, they may not breastfeed. And so that's something to definitely watch out for. Is there an actual ratio of exactly how much they should be getting from both? No, I would say that over time, the ratio starts to flip.
Okay. So this question is anonymous. Can you please talk about how to boost libido while breastfeeding? I'm 8 months into breastfeeding my second, and literally have zero interest in my husband. I give it up just because I know he needs it, but I could care less. I want to get somewhat of a sex drive back.
So common. Let's say this, when you're
We've never discussed this.
We've never discussed this.
Nope.
But let me say that, when it comes to libido, there's multiple factors at play when you're postpartum. All right. There's, first of all, for many women, there's just the recovery of coming out of a delivery. And, sometimes sex can be painful after delivery. Sometimes it can take some time to get back into the swing of things, so to speak. And so it can be painful and not as enjoyable right off the bat. It does come back. It does get better over time. But there's other reasons as well. The other thing too is when you're breastfeeding, your hormones are out of whack. Okay. And so from the hormonal impact can cause you to have vaginal dryness. It can make you more of like almost a menopausal state. Okay, so that can cause your libido to go down, whether it's the dryness or just the impact of those hormones on your sex drive. So those are all really, really normal things to happen postpartum. And then the last thing that I think we don't always think about is just the fatigue and the fact that you're feeling so touched out. So many moms complain about that. When they're breastfeeding, you have somebody literally on your body, 8 to 12 to sometimes 24 hours a day, touching you, nursing off of you, feeding off of you. And it's like the last thing that you really want is anyone else to touch you. And so there is that whole psychological aspect of it as well, plus the fatigue of not sleeping. And so take all that and put that into the mix, and it doesn't really make for the most romantic of thoughts. So I can understand that. What I would say is that the main thing is to take the time, make the time with your partner. Force yourself to make the time to, and I don't mean sex. I mean, make the time to spend time together, to have some alone time, whether that's just cuddling on the couch together, being together, or, having somebody come over, watch the baby for an hour or two so you can go out for dinner. Remember that you have to maintain that relationship. And even if it's not sex, maintaining the relationship is super important. It feels like it's all about the baby right now, but the relationship is there to stay, and that's going to last long after they're like into kindergarten and then off to college, and then you've got you and your partner. So I don't really know how else to answer it other than to make that time. I find that if you don't use it, you lose it in some ways. If you wait too long, it makes it harder and harder to get back into it. And so just be aware that, you're going to need to be ready with, lubricants, whatever it is, to make sure that you're making it as comfortable as possible, and that you understand that there is a physiological aspect to this.
That's good. That's good information.
Mm-hmm.
We've never been asked that question before.
And everybody's saying, touched out.
Yeah.
It's true. It is. You're touched out. And I think talking, like really communicating with your partner so they understand, because dads can feel really rejected, and sometimes, it's not a logical thought of like feeling jealous of the baby, but at a certain point, it's like the baby is the baby's the focus. The baby may be sleeping with mom and dad sleeping in the other room. And I can tell you, Joe did that for six months with our second. He didn't even sleep in the bed with me. So, dads can sometimes feel like, wow, I'm really left out of this whole picture. And so communication is really, really important, and making that time, like I said, making that time, even if it's just sitting on the couch, watching a movie together, hang out together, sit closely, and be a couple. Hold hands.
Yeah, that's good. Get a foot rub. Yeah. Something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
One more thing about that too.
Yeah.
When I say, you use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. Sometimes the libido's not there until you start. And so I just want to say that you may not feel like you're in the mood until you begin. And then once you begin, you may feel more in the mood. And so that's part of it as well.
Very good. That, I feel that could be a whole faith. I mean, that should be I obviously don't know things about this, but it's like, if you should do a whole separate Facebook Live on that with somebody, just about sex after delivery and all of that. Cause it's like, I know like you don't really feel sexy if you're not comfortable with your body. And because your body's just gone through this change like that, like I'm sure you're not feeling like, let's do it.
You know, some are.
Yeah.
Some women feel really sexy afterwards. Their breasts
Yeah.
never look so good. They feel really empowered and great about their body. You know, it's like really individual.
Yeah.
Everybody feels different, and some just don't want to be touched, don't want to be looked at. Like it's a really individual thing. And again, that's where the communication comes in. But yeah, I have another midwife friend that I think this would be a really good topic for me to do as a midwife, along with my other midwife friend.
I am a comment that someone just left that said men are microwaves and women are crock pots.
I'm trying to think about that. Yeah.
They're slow to warm up. It's slow to warm up. Microwaves are like ding.
But the crock pots, you know, they eventually
Crock pot, you have a better experience. The microwave, your meat's overcooked and rubbery. It's not. No.
That's really perfect. It's very good.
That's a very, very sensible.
Very, very good.
Okay, let's see if I can go get some comments here, or questions. Molly says she's tired of carrying a shield. How can we best get rid of it? My baby is 9 weeks old and will sometimes latch without it, but other times gets very frustrated.
You know, the shield, what she's referring to is a nipple shield. That's a piece of silicone that is shaped like a nipple that goes over your nipple. The baby latches onto it at the breast, and it's used for various reasons. Sometimes the moms have flat or very inverted or very flat or inverted nipples, or if there's a lot of soreness from a problem initially right after the delivery where the baby may have had a bad latch and the mom's struggling to latch because of pain. In those cases, you really, in all of those cases, if you're going to be using a nipple shield, you should be working with an IBCLC, okay? And I say IBCLC because whatever's causing that issue really needs to be evaluated. You know, you don't want to just like know later that, oh, the baby had a tongue tie or my latch was completely wrong and I lost my whole milk supply because I went and bought this nipple shield at Babies R Us and did it on my own because my friend told me to. And I hear this all the time. So make sure that you're working with someone. If you are using a nipple shield, what I can say about that is I usually encourage anyone who really needs the nipple shield and is working with someone to not worry too much about how long will it take to stop using the shield. You use it for as long as you need to use it, and then you keep weaning off of it, meaning as the baby's growing bigger, their mouths are getting stronger, their mouths are getting, it's easier for them to latch. You can start taking the shield away and putting them to the breast and seeing if they'll latch at different points during the day. The best way to do it is just do it gradually. Start latching them. And sometimes it's quickly where the baby just goes right to the breast. You take it away one day and the baby goes to the breast. It's all going to be over time. So when she asks, what's the best way to do it? The best way is the way that the baby will latch to the breast. And I have never, and I've been a lactation consultant for over 10 years. I have never had any mom who I worked with who had a nipple shield that needed to use that shield the entire time they were nursing if it wasn't by choice. So let me just say that it does work. Eventually, the baby will latch to the breast without the shield if you continue to use it and you're nursing. It's when you're doing other things that are decreasing your supply, or you never evaluated what caused that problem to begin with, and that's interfering with it, that I see moms have more of a problem. So, try doing a lot of skin to skin with the baby. Wearing the baby a lot, taking a bath with the baby, getting into the bathtub, sleeping with the baby next to you so that the baby can just kind of, while they're in a dozed off like state, the baby can latch on and maybe not pay attention as much.
This is interesting because this question Chelsea has. I know that we've discussed like breastfed babies and vitamin D because we don't get out in the sun, whatever. But Chelsea has a question. What about making sure they get enough iron? Mm-hmm. Should breastfeeding moms give iron supplements?
I do not believe that they need to give iron supplements. No. Babies are going to have enough iron from the mom from the delivery. And so breastfed babies really do not need any kind of supplementation other than vitamin D if mom's not getting enough vitamin D herself. So it's really the only thing that may need to be supplemented if the mom is not taking adequate amounts. And when I say adequate amounts of vitamin D, I'm talking over almost 6,000 units a day is what a mom needs to take in order to make sure that her breast milk is going to have enough vitamin D in it. I believe it's around 5,400, 5,500 units per day. And any day that she doesn't take that amount or doesn't get the adequate sunlight, which is a lot of sunlight, you have to have a lot of exposure to the sun to really get enough. That day, the baby needs to be supplemented with vitamin D. All right. But as far as iron, no, the baby doesn't need iron. It's a case for also for delayed cord clamping. You know, when we allow the cord to not be clamped immediately after delivery, when we allow it to continue pulsating after birth so that the baby gets that extra stores of iron given to them and the extra blood, they don't need extra iron. There's much less iron in breast milk than there is in formula, but the iron that they're getting is much more readily used by the body than the type of iron that they're getting in infant formula. And so whenever there's any kind of conversation about, well, breast milk has much less iron. Yeah, but it's a different type of iron that is absorbed by the body.
It's more soluble.
Yeah, it's absorbed differently, and the baby has iron from the birth.
Yeah. I just realized we only have 10 minutes left. And we've not even talked about the pump that they can.
We need to do that.
We do need to do that. But we've had so many good questions.
There's so many questions. Oh my goodness.
So let's do this. Somebody here.
Wait, Joe's talking to me from the other room. Oh, Joe just said he just posted the link so that they can go get the pump through their insurance.
Oh, good. I actually, so my best friend and his wife are expecting their first, and I'm very excited. It's like the same level of excitement as when my sister told me she was pregnant. Like, he's like my brother.
Great.
So I was walking her through stuff, and obviously I told her she has to get this pump. There's no option. But I told her, just like we discuss on here, do not go through insurance. Go through a durable medical equipment provider, and they act as the liaison to help you get the pump, not the insurance company.
That's right.
So we have a link up that will help you do that. So that's important.
Yeah, and if anybody's having any trouble getting their pump through insurance, go to that link, and then you can also message me on my Facebook too if you're having any trouble finding the pump through one of the DMEs. And like Jamie said, we'll talk about the pump. Let's talk about the pump, and we'll tell you how to get it. It's available for sale. I mean, everywhere, at Target, at Walmart.
At Target, it's on sale right now, at least at the Target I was just at like 2 days ago, for $89.99.
Yeah, it's really not expensive to get, but you can get it through insurance, and go to that link and you'll be able to do that. If you go to your insurance first, they may just send you the pump you don't want. So it's really not the truth when they talk about like, oh, my insurance didn't cover that pump. That's not true. It just happened to be the DME that you called. Okay. So let's talk about the pump for a minute. This pump is a pump that I helped to design with Evenflo several years ago. And when people ask me, like, why do I love this pump so much? Why am I like such an advocate of the features of this pump? It's because these were all the ones that were my number one choices in features. When I look at breast pumps, I'm always evaluating them based on the functionality of the pump of like, what is it doing to help you maintain and protect your milk supply? It's the number one thing. I mean, that's what a pump is for. Let's face it, right? Like, what is the pump for? It's to get your milk out and protect your supply when you can't be there with your baby. All right. If it's not doing that well, then it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And so the features on a pump that you want to look for is, I'll go through them really, really quick. 4 features. Okay. And if anybody, I know I see a lot of my students here in the chat room. You guys can start typing in.
I put them in the caption as well this time.
Good. Okay, awesome. Then you all got a cheat sheet there. Go ahead and type in the features that you love. Tell me why you love it here, because these are the best features. It has the individual speed and suction. It has the 3 different sizes flange sizes that come with the pump itself. It has a closed system, okay? A closed system. That means really important, doesn't get bacteria, mold, viruses in the tubing. And then lastly, what I love about this pump is that it has a battery feature. Okay, so you can put AA batteries right into the pump itself, and then you're completely mobile. And when I said before that breast pumps are there to maintain your supply and make sure you get your milk out, that means whether you're near an outlet or not. And so I put that into my fourth feature of what to look for. It's those four things most important, because if you can't use your pump when you need it, you're going to delay your feeding, you're going to decrease your supply, and you're not going to have milk for your baby. So bottom line.
There you go.
And if anyone wants to watch, I have videos on my page, checklist videos about this, as well as how to use the pump properly with the 3-stage pumping method. And a lot of you know that video.
We're getting some discussion about crock pots, because apparently
well, you brought it up.
Well, I didn't bring it up. Someone in the chat did.
Okay.
But apparently it figures into This Is Us, and I have not started season 2 yet, so
spoiler, because I haven't seen the last episode, so
I have not.
We were watching today, recorded episodes, Joe and I, but we didn't watch the last one, so.
Yeah. And also, with the batteries, it's also important to make sure you use good batteries. Don't, go get batteries at the dollar store, because just in general, those batteries suck. And if you use sucky batteries, your pump doesn't suck.
Absolutely. It will actually, it's not just how long it'll last, but it's literally how the pump will function.
Yeah.
So
Got it. It's always worthwhile getting good batteries.
Mm-hmm. You know, I want to say something about this pump too. This is a hospital strength pump. So many times, you know, moms are, wonder, is this pump actually going to work? And is it really going to get my milk out? And is it really going to function the way I need it to? And aren't the more expensive ones better than the ones that are less? And I'm going to be really, really honest about this. I did the pump trials on this pump with my team of IBCLCs, and I can tell you that this pump works phenomenally. People who use this pump and have tried others as side by side will choose this pump, 9 out of 10 times, if not more. We had actually more choosing this pump than that. The fact is that it has such a nice cushion feeling when you put your nipple up to this, because of these soft silicone flanges, and so much of pumping is comfort. Making sure that you're comfortable. When moms are using flanges like this, where it's just hard plastic, it really doesn't feel good. And so when you have pain, it can actually impede the letdown. It stops the letdown or the milk from flowing. And so the soft flanges, the ability to control your speed and suction, and then the strength of this pump, which is a hospital strength pump, that means it's going to maintain its suction in double setting, not just when you're using one side. Lots of these double pumps, I'm telling you, a lot of these double pumps on the market, they're sold as double pumps, but when you put them on, if you try to use both at the same time,
the suction goes down.
The suction is going down, and you are not getting what you need.
There are times I've even been able to tell that the suction is different just testing it on my fingers.
Yeah.
And that's not scientific.
But what's crazy about this is that you have all that suction, but then moms will put this pump on and they're like, is it even working? It feels like it's not getting enough suction. And the reason is because it's so comfortable. So you've got this comfort, even though you've got the power of it, it's so comfortable that it's not hurting. And they think it's supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to.
The reason, and I will always say, the reason that we started this relationship with Evenflo and with you and doing these Q&As was back when my sister was still pumping and nursing with Veda. She used this pump. And she was like, this is the most comfortable pump I've ever used, and it's the most efficient. We have to figure out a way to work with them. And she'd tried everything on the market at that point, and I watched her scream through a couple of them. I took videos of some horrible things going on with her nipples.
I remember how,
and I would send them to you.
No, I mean, I'm just reading here in the chat, moms who are using it and saying the same thing, that they've used other pumps. They now have this one, and it makes a huge difference.
Ooh, Gina left a really good comment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not unusual to read those comments. Yep. It's really not unusual to read those comments. Not to mention the fact that it's made really strong. Most pumps on the market are closed at this point. There's only one brand I know of, I'm not going to mention, is still an open system. Most are closed systems. But the way that they're closed is not as sealed completely as this one. And that's really important. And I don't know if you could see it. It's got this nice little, I just got my nails done too, so they look nice.
Look at you.
So I'll go really close to the camera. So it's got this nice little diaphragm that goes right in here. It's really creating a full seal. When this clicks on, you've got a nice full seal here that you're really not going to get any milk in the tubing. Yeah. And I've seen closed system pumps that actually get milk in the tube,
tubes,
moisture in the tubing. If that's happening on a closed system pump, it's obviously not functioning properly. It's not functioning properly. And then other closed systems where the seal is actually here at the pump, but not at the tubing level. So this is actually open. And this is closed. You want all of it to be closed. A real true closed system is closed at the point of the flange.
The breast of the shield of the flange. We just get to talking. Listen. So yeah, that's people are agreeing on here. And I think people always ask, and it's like, I know it gets dicey with like mentioning other brands because this is sponsored by Evenflo and whatever, but people ask me all the time, and you by default because you're here, obviously, but it's like, how does this compare to other pumps, to this pump, to this pump, to this? I will say there is a reason I work with Evenflo. There is a reason it is the pump on my platform consistently. Every month. It is the reason I recommend this pump to my friends and my family members. Like, this to me, this is it.
And years.
So, for years.
For years.
Yeah. And it's how I kind of work with brands. And Shari, that's a few people I've spoken with privately. It's like, when I look at a product, I want to know, like, does it work? Is it functional? I can't determine like cost value of a product. Like, is this product worth the money? But when you have a really, really exceptional product like this that has a price point like this, to me, that's a no-brainer. So it's like you set the product aside, but then you go into corporate culture and how the company functions and what they're doing to get the message out there and education. This is the only pump in the market currently that you can buy, and it comes with education classes. It's also run by women, and all the women are kick ass at Evenflo, and they're like my girls, and I love them. And all of you in Ohio, I miss your faces. I haven't seen you in too long.
You should come out. I'm going this week.
I know. I just don't have time. I have to go to Austin in a few days. But there is a reason that I have this partnership, and I value it, and use this platform to get information out with this brand. So,
and you know what? I'll say the same thing. I don't work for Evenflo. I've worked with them for many years. They asked me to come in when they first were developing the breast pump. I have massive respect for the fact that they did that they said to me, we're developing this brand new pump. We want your expertise. We want your input now before it's already completed. Tell us, what do we want to do with this so that we make it the best product that we could put out for mothers. And I absolutely love that. And we also want to include your education with it. That's how I started working with Evenflo. And so when you see me here and my face is on the packaging, and I can tell you right now that if I didn't stand behind the product that is being put out there,
with your face on it,
that I would have my face on the packaging. Okay, I don't need to have my face on the pack. I put it there because I believe in what they're producing, and I don't work for the company. Let me just say that I have my own business, and I work with other brands. This is one brand I work with because they are amazing. They're amazing, passionate women with a mission that we share.
Yep, I love them. So there you go.
Yep.
There's your answer.
Yep. Yay! Yay! And someone's going to win one. So
someone's going to win a pump.
Make sure you're registered to win the pump.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And you know, anybody there, I know that there was all kinds of questions here tonight, and Jamie and I have been doing these Q&As for many years. We started we have all of my courses available as well as the full library, and all of the Q&As have been time coded so that if you're looking for particular topics or areas that we've discussed over, I don't know, almost 40 episodes.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I would say this is the first time we've done a Q&A where we've had a new question we have not ever addressed before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, I know we certainly don't mind going over the information because it needs to be repeated. We're always having new people circle through, and that's the idea. Absolutely. And speaking of new people, if you have pregnant friends or people who are thinking about getting pregnant or people who just had a baby, make sure you let them know about my page and about Shari's page. Because one thing that's interesting in the baby space is we have a really small window of time where we get to get people and then we keep them. But it's getting those new parents and getting them so that we can make sure they get information.
Well, the worst thing that we can hear, and I don't know about you, but this is the worst thing I hear from parents is, I wish I had found you 5 months ago.
Yeah.
I wish that I had found your page 5 months ago, or your classes, or taken your Simply Breastfeeding class 5 months ago when I had my baby, because I think I'd be breastfeeding now if I had had this exact information then. And so if you know people that are expecting or that just had a new baby or could use this good information, make sure that you're sharing it with them, because you're helping. What you're doing is you're changing a life. I mean, I know for me, when I, stop and just take the time to like talk about some of this stuff, I sound like I'm talking about my classes. Oh, come get my classes. But what I'm really saying to you is, share these classes, come watch them, because they'll help you breastfeed longer. And really that is what I'm trying to do, is to support you. Yeah. So that you have the real good information, because without that real accurate knowledge, it is impossible to make the right choices. It is impossible to make good choices.
It's how I feel with all the product stuff, like with car seat safety. It's like with everything that just happened in the last week with that brand we are not going to bring up. All I wanted to do was make sure people had proper information out there. And when I get comments from people that are like, where were you a year ago? Yeah. I was here on Facebook just like I am now.
We were actually right here.
I've been on Facebook for about 6 years now. Yeah. So I've been here. You just have to know where to find me.
Mm-hmm. We need to play some vintage Jamie and Shari. I think I'm going to pull up some old videos, Jamie. This is like 2009, 2010. It's like a long time ago. Him and I sitting there together. I got my curly hair,
I'm wearing a nursing bra.
You're wearing a nursing bra. You're wearing a pillow.
Some kind of maternity belly support. Mercy.
We had fun.
That'll be good for a throwback Thursday at some point.
We should do that. Why don't we do that? We'll play it.
Let's do it this week.
And then you and I can get in the chat. Well, I'm going to be in.
Oh, okay.
But we'll do maybe next week, and then what we'll do is you and I can jump in the chat and like just have some wine and like.
We'll like Mystery Science Theater it.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. What was I thinking there? So.
No, seriously, it's really funny. Yeah. It's really funny. We got some good episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, I got episodes just from like 2 years ago, us doing this Q&A that we could sit and laugh our butts off.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, back when we first started doing this Q&A, we couldn't even do video.
No.
We had to type everything.
That was hell. That was hell.
All right. So we are done for the night. Make sure I'll edit the post and put the link for the pump registration and giveaway. Make sure you enter that. Thank you, Shari. Can
Joe post a link for the classes?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have the link for the classes? I don't remember Jamie's link.
Of course.
Okay. Well, you could just go to mybabyexperts.com/ about or VIP.
Okay.
Don't
People
here.
are asking about the car seat thing. It's pinned to the top of my Facebook page. That story in my life is over. I have closed that book. I have shut that door. I am done with it. I really hope. Hopefully, as Tangina says in Poltergeist, this house is clean. So
It's over.
oh,
It's all there. It's all there in all its glory to watch. But don't talk about it again.
well, thank you all. Thank you, Evenflo,
Thank you,
for
Evenflo.
a new year of this. And we'll see you next month once we figure out our schedules.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
As we always do. We'll see
Yeah,
you
we will. See you all. Thank you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.